ASF Podcast, brought to you by Queen Bee. Hi, Rob Fletcher. Welcome to ASF Podcast. Honored and privileged to be here with two great men, Mr. Dr. Bill Kraemer and Bob Worldwide Lorimer. We'll be talking about the Arnold Sports Festival today and also bringing to you training, education, and motivation as part of the ASF TV platform. Bill, it's a pleasure co-hosting this with you.
Pleasure. My pleasure.
Bob, it's great.
Absolutely, Rob. Thank you.
All right, so first, Bob, just a little bit of the history of the Arnold. In your mind, did you ever think it would come to what it is today?
Well, absolutely not, Rob. You really couldn't predict this. You couldn't have predicted this from the very beginning. As you guys might know, my father started partnership with Arnold in 1976, and in about every decade along the way, it's just had such changes. And so we're really looking forward to even the next 5 years as we go forward.
And now today, expected over 200,000 people, 20,000 athletes and competitors, and 80 sporting events.
Well, yep, and we're looking for it to be bigger and better than ever. We've continued to be able to grow this on an annual basis, and every year we look forward to having more and more sports in. And if anybody out there has another sport or something we're missing, we'd love to talk to you about having being able to participate on our weekend.
So we have the Arnold Sports Festival, and now Dr. Kraemer and I were bringing in this training education component to the ASF platform through the podcast and through ASF TV, so that's very exciting. Dr. Kraemer, why don't you just talk to everybody about your background, and I know that background's extensive and it's awesome, so just give us an overview.
I appreciate it. I'm really excited about being here. The idea of the background is the fact that you gain a lot of experience over the past 40 years. I've been through all the coaching ranks with regard to high school and college coaching. I then also was in the military as a R&D officer in the United States Army for a number of years. And then my academic career started at a number of the major universities, including Pennsylvania State University and University of Connecticut, and now at The Ohio State University. And we've been excited about all the different research we could do with regard to understanding the underlying principles of training. And I think that's really something we want to bring out to all the viewers. Make sure that you understand why and how things are occurring. And what we don't understand is really the important part too. Many times people don't take that as enough importance, but what we don't understand is really important for people to know too. But we got some speculations where we give you some new insights. And again, with all the different sports we've worked with over the years, including tactical athletes and many other aspects of strength power, I'm excited about being a part of this, and it's my honor and my privilege to be a part of this whole operation.
And the feeling is very mutual here. ASF Podcast, brought to you by Queen Bee. Begin, Believe, Become is the midlife mastery program for women ages 35 and over to begin their journey, believe in their abilities, and become all they are meant to be in mind and body. This customized online coaching program offers Ava Diamond's internationally utilized Diamond Mind strategies for developing the mindset that matters and reaching all of your goals, physically, professionally, and in relationships. And Linda Stevens, nationally read nutrition coaching for the best ways to nourish your body and enhance your fitness in midlife. Queen Bee hormone balancing for those interested and available through Cenogenics, New York. Join the Queen Bee Facebook community today and get your free begin download to Mastering Mind and Body. Meet Ava and Linda along the fitness icon Monica Brandt, sexy boss Heather Ann Havenwood, social media guru Batya Maman, and sexual fulfillment expert Stacy Batat at the Arnold Summit. Queen Bee launching this March 3rd at 4 p.m. and March 4th at 10 a.m. Free admission with your Arnold Sports Festival Expo Pass. So, Bob, this year, new events at the Arnold. New events, any new things happening that you want to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. We're always looking, like I say, to be able to expand into other venues and different things. Again, talking about an expansion, we are now fill 100% of the convention center. But 2 years ago, when they took Veterans Memorial down, we expanded into the Ohio Expo Center. And through that, we've brought all the teen and
The Kids Fitness Expo.
Kids Fitness Expo up there. And again, we continue just to bring new things up there. For instance, this year we'll have lacrosse up there for the first time in the Coliseum. But several other things that we're looking to add this year is we're adding professional women's strong competition and strong woman competitions. Again, we have competitive yoga for the first time. We've never seen some
That's
people
gonna be
that are
interesting.
good. It's going to be very interesting to see some of these people that are competing.
I think I heard one of the representatives was demonstrating some of the things.
Yeah, and crazy what these guys can do. So I recommend everybody take one of the classes anyhow. It's just
I don't know
you
if I'd
take
be
the
able to
class.
do any of what they could do.
Well, if you take the class, you really realize that. So, but again, we have handball in there for the first time, and again, it's at the Ohio State University RPAC Club. We look forward to having that event up there. And again, the Armament Summit and different things like that we have going on this year.
The summit I'm very excited about too, because you and I spoke frequently about developing the education component,
Right,
and
right.
Dr. Kraemer, this is one of those things that we want to complement that. So we have the Arnold Summit at the Arnold, which will be on the second floor in rooms B230 and 231. For those that want to stop by, we have great experts coming this year, and then we just definitely planning it growing every year. I want to talk about the Kids Fitness Expo, and I'm sure Dr. Kraemer, this is something you could definitely chime in on. Two big issues today, and they're directly related, I believe, is the youth obesity and bullying. So now you have Jim Lorimer and Bob and Arnold. They're very strong components and advocates of fitness, and obviously now with this kids portion of the venue, bringing that to the forefront.
Well, I think it's really important. I think my aspect, I remember my first starting off teaching junior high school and also working with little leagues and everything else. And now the research is trying to come about to try to understand how we can do methodologies to improve, the whole phenomenon of self-image and how parents and kids interact with each other during competition. So I think we're starting to come up with programs that allow people to better manage their emotions, their anger, and all the different things that are associated with a lot of youth sports. And I think it's come a long way. But I think the real thing with regard to youth sport is, in my mind, has been one thing is you got to be trained to play. So one of the big things we worry about with injuries, especially in the orthopedic world and in sports medicine, is that the kids are ready to play the game they're playing, and we have actual preparation going on for that. So between the construct of bullying, construct of fair play, construct of injury prevention, I think we've got a lot of things we can talk about and hope to get into to really make it a great experience for young kids.
The other component of what they're doing with the youth fitness now, we've seen some of the skills, like Tori Boggs, for example,
Yeah,
world-class jump rope champion. Have you seen Tori?
On video, not in person.
So, but back to what you're saying, Dr. Kraemer, you're introducing people to new sports now through the ASF TV platform.
Right.
So now we're taking this live event and we're exposing others to come
Right.
to the Arnold Sports Festival website to learn, from the very basics. Today we just were watching Tori go over the basics, jump rope length and everything else. But let's move on to strongman testing. It's a very popular sport at the Arnold. These guys are beasts. It's incredible what they can do. So why don't you talk about that for a minute, Dr. Kraemer?
Well, I think one of the things we've been able to do here at Ohio State is really care about the athlete's other dimension, and that's their health and well-being. And I think when Jim and Bob came to us, and we worked with Terry Todd at the University of Texas and the work he's done, which has been extraordinary, we wanted to be able to work with the strongmen to give them feedback on their biologics, on their metrics, so they can make decisions on their diet, on their profile training, on their recovery. So we do a great job of giving them a full kind of characterization of their biometric data so they can understand, for example, their body composition, how much fat, how much lean mass. They can also look at their other clinicals. And then we're fortunate over the past few years to have one of the team physicians, in our laboratory come and actually help interpret this along with what I do with the training, but I'm not a physician. So the bottom line is, I think in the combination of testing, it really is a testimony to how interested that the Lorimers in general are about the health and well-being of all the competitors that are there and do everything for their safeguard. And the strongmen are just that one special group of extraordinary men on the planet today, and we're able to test them and really give them a lot of great feedback for their health and well-being, and they really appreciate it. And now we've seen with a couple years this has made a difference on different things they're doing, so we're excited about it.
Have you seen a tremendous increase in, well, I assume I've seen it, so you have, the incredible increase in strength among these guys over the last decade.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's tremendous. I mean, I go back to the days I was kidding Bill Casimir a couple of years ago. I remember when he was just a young buck. We were only a few months apart in age. So the whole phenomenon of during my days and doing strength training and that for sports and the things like that, and seeing the progression of training and the progression of how the thing goes. And then there's also the genetic turnover. I mean, there's nothing better that every 10 years the gene pool turns over. And I think we see a lot of changes going on just because we know more about training, we know more about nutrition, we know more about how to get strong. And I think this is one of the things, but my goodness, what you can see today for physical strength in the human organism is unbelievable compared to the old days.
Incredible.
Yes.
And you see
Incredible.
it you see it right on the stage at the Arnold Sports Festival.
And I said we really want to look forward to working with you in the future because you're a wealth of knowledge. And so for our fans out there that might want to ask Dr. Kraemer a question in the future, we really stay tuned to do that and get your questions ready because he's a hard guy to stump on anything.
I'm not getting into the ring.
Well, first of all, I'll tell you, anybody that says they know it all, go run the other direction. I don't know it all. We struggle to find answers. We struggle to understand context. Every time we get a chance where we think we know about it, I'm a little nervous because there's always something else under the cover. So I think in reality-wise, we've got a lot of knowledge that's not been used. I know one time ESPN asked me, how much knowledge do we use from sports science? And I said, probably only about 5%. So a lot of it goes unused, and it's sitting there in journals, etc. But again, I don't know it all, and I think anybody that thinks they do is misguided.
I agree. Let's talk about you're off to South Africa.
No, it's Korea tomorrow.
Korea.
Yep,
Korea.
down to Seoul, Korea.
So
looking forward to that.
Six countries.
Well, we're right now on 6 continents, and we started in 2011, and we started in Madrid, Spain, and we really what we're doing internationally is replicating what we've done here in Columbus. And so our model is really easy to take on the road, and we've found excellent partners on 5 other continents, and they're doing a phenomenal job. The growth continues, but Arnold's interest himself is just tremendous because he goes to every show, never misses a show.
And I've been here for many years, and I see his schedule. He does make it to every time I turn around, he's at another venue.
Yeah, his scheduling commitment's unbelievable. But again, his statement to us in the very beginning is he wants to give back to the fitness community. He wants to be part in youth activities, and so in every one of these continents we're continuing to expand and grow and build it from there. So
that's what I see. I see this weekend. It's an amazing weekend of promoting sports, fitness, health, and competition, and it really truly is a weekend defined by changing lives worldwide. And now bringing into the education component with Dr. Kraemer and these different platforms, as Bob said earlier, keep tuning back to ASF Podcast because Dr. Kraemer, a wealth of knowledge. You could post your questions on the Facebook, Arnold Sports Festival Facebook page. But we'll be back in a minute to hear from our sponsor, Queen Bee. ASF Podcast today is brought to you by Queen Bee. Begin, believe, become. Are you a woman in midlife who wants to reclaim or reinvent your physical, professional, or social self? Queen Bee Begin, Believe, Become customized online coaching program will give you the guidance and support you need to begin, believe, and become the woman you want to be. The Queen Bee coaching program is about nourishing your mind and body, best with coaches Ava Diamond and Linda Stevens. Ava Diamond's Diamond Mind Strategies has helped clients on every continent, including our U.S. military, to develop the mindset that matters in living an authentic and effective life. Learn to create your goals and reach them, whether they are about fitness, career, personal growth, or relationships. Linda Stevens, notable columnist, helps her clients with the nutrition education and planning that allows them to transform their physiques and optimize wellness in midlife. Together, we help you reign supreme as the queen of your personal empire. Don't waste another day. Contact Queen Bee at queenbeelife@gmail.com to begin. And we are back at ASF Podcast with Mr. Bob Lorimer and Dr. Kraemer. So we talked about a few things. We talked about the Arnold Sports Festival. We talked about the Strongman. Let's talk about applying. We spoke earlier, Dr. Kraemer, about nutritional needs and how people look to substitute certain things without really paying attention to let's look at our day, our day-to-day, our meal planning, our exercise, how that could have a direct impact on how their moods, the way they feel.
Well, I think it's very important that people have a plan. And when you're going to any sport, you go into any type of training program, you have to have a plan. And the plan has to be flexible because things change as your goals change, as your training changes. So I think it's very important that the major components that you want is you want to make sure that you have an adequate nutrition plan to basically feed the muscles and meet the calorie demands of the activities you're doing. Too many athletes today, from ultra endurance runners even to strongman competitors, may not get enough total calories. And then you have to partition it off into the type of calories you're looking at, from fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. Now, there's many different diet plans. Some of the recent publication we did with ultra endurance runners, they're on many what's called keto adapted plans, where they're actually having a high fat with right amounts of fats, protein of about only 20%, and then very low carbohydrate of around 15% of the diet. And it's been amazing what we found in that particular study. But then again, if you're an athlete on many different aspects, you have to have the information for your daily intakes. And a lot of times mistakes that are made impact how your body's going to recover, how your body's physiologically going to function. So that's very important. The biggest thing that I think too is the training plans is, in the modern day, one thing that people don't do enough of is rest. And when I talk about rest, I mean one day of complete rest. There's something biblical about that. But the bottom line is in one of our studies on overtraining, we found this many years ago. You need one complete day of rest, and you can actually eliminate some of the overtraining that occurs. So I think that's really important as well. So a periodized program with the right type of variation in the physical stresses. You can't go out and lift a 67,000 pound workout every day. You can't go out and run 10 miles a day. You got to vary your program. You got to modify it. And we're going to get into some of those things relative to different periodization models of training. And it changes a little bit for every sport. Where are you at? And then there's prioritization. So you got a whole thing on how you're going to prioritize your workouts. So the training technology today is very advanced. It's sport specific. It's individualized. Individualized, very important. And then you take that all together with a total health, well-being, psychological well-being, etc. You put together your master program with a lot of good information from the many top people that are out there that you can utilize. So I think it's really a cornucopia of many pieces of information that we hope to talk about more in the future.
Individualize is key. I
Yes.
think people, there's no cookie cutter. There's no, I think, and especially beyond the sports and fitness world, people looking. What's your recommendation for people, from all the marketing tactics of the big corporate giants, trying to hook people in on these many, many different diets and programs?
Well, I think first of all, you got to start off with a fundamentally basic diet, getting enough proper calories for your metabolic rate and your caloric expenditure. And first, most people start off with the proper amount of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Once you kind of establish a base diet, then you can get into what the specific needs are based on your individual preparation. And that takes a little bit more study. A lot of times we need to study this a little more in detail. So I think for us, anything, it's highly individualized, but some things are factual. You're on one of the major two diet type of programs. If you're low carb or your normal diet, eating normal carbs, those seem to be the two big areas right now in the field of dietetics. And then you have to make sure you get enough calories, and you got to make sure that you have the good type of calories that are coming in. And for example, we did work on ethanol, and we found out that ethanol is like anything else. By the way, that's alcohol. We were actually looking at people that basically could, use a type of ethanol where you were, legally intoxicated. And we found out it's a stressor. So the body looks at that type of thing as a stressor. It takes about, for example, 48 hours to clear 1 ounce of ethanol, depending upon the study, depending upon our work. And what we find out is that you got to combine all these things in a pattern of programs so you don't diminish what your competitive capacity is or your recovery capacity is. Because again, the big thing is individualization, and the big thing is recovery. Recovery is a key factor. That's a good part, but also recovery in the way you the day of the workouts and everything else. And when you'll see the Arnold Classic and a lot of the experiences I've had with a lot of the people doing it, it's amazing the athletes you have and how intuitive
True
they
science.
are in their bodies. But now we're starting to understand what that might be scientifically that's working.
The caloric needs, I know this is a pretty open question, but for the high-performance athlete or, say, a bodybuilder or strongman, what do you think those those caloric needs?
Boy, that's highly differential.
Yeah.
We usually use the basal metabolic rate, and then basically bring them into the lab. We see what their response is. And then it's the type of activities you're doing. Now, what's interesting is some continuous activities, you're burning calories as you're doing it, like running, walking. When you do lifting or you're working on a bodybuilding, or you're doing, the calories you burn don't occur during the activity as much. They occur in the 24 hours after. So what that does to you is that means that you're burning calories like crazy after the fact. Many years ago, I was at Tufts University, and they couldn't understand how these bodybuilders could be about 10% body fat because the workout they did didn't expend that much calories. Well, soon they found out that the caloric expenditure is occurring after the workout, not during the workout. So it depends about the type of work you're doing, the type of exercise programs you're doing, how much calories you need, so that you kind of monitor it. You're not undercutting yourself for sure, but you're not overshooting it for what you really need. So that's the thing that goes on.
And then for the sport, people that compete here at the Arnold weekend, they pretty much have their coaching corner, their trainers and their instructors all guiding them into that direction. Someone that is starting out or looking to get into a particular sport and find out what their caloric needs would be, where would they go?
Well, I think a lot of times you have to find somebody who is a good sport dietitian, number one, that understands activity, understands that it's more than just hydration, which is super important, and the typical clinical dietetic. You have to get somebody that really is aware of what sport dietetics are. And I think there are places you can go. But that's been the big rub lately, is trying to find the people that can match up with what you're doing and understand the cutting edge type of data that's out there. So, we could talk for hours, and there's classes on this, with regard to understanding. But we can give some basics, and we can get into that in the future with some future times and some guests that really can be very specific on that.
Well, in closing, Bob, weekend's coming up.
Sure is.
It's March 2nd through the 5th. We have so many different events coming up. It's you could feel the energy throughout Columbus already. You have the downtown, powerhouse gym there. That's a place to be too. Just going in there, that's a sight to see. Everybody's checking the whole thing out, the whole scene. The energy's phenomenal. You can tune in to ASF Podcast weekly. You could also go to ASF TV, the Arnold Sports Festival website, for a wealth of information. I will be joined weekly with my co-host, Dr. Kraemer. Bob, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having us on. We really look forward to seeing the podcast go forward in the years to come. So,
thanks very much. Rob Fletcher, Bob Lorimer, Dr. Kraemer.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
everybody.
ASF Podcast, brought to you by Queen Bee. Begin, Believe, Become is the midlife mastery program for women ages 35 and over to begin their journey, believe in their abilities, and become all they are meant to be in mind and body. This customized online coaching program offers Ava Diamond's internationally utilized Diamond Mind strategies for developing the mindset that matters and reaching all of your goals, physically, professionally, and in relationships. And Linda Stevens, nationally read nutrition coaching for the best ways to nourish your body and enhance your fitness in midlife. Queen Bee hormone balancing for those interested and available through Cenogenics, New York. Join the Queen Bee Facebook community today and get your free Begin download to Mastering Mind and Body. Meet Ava and Linda along the fitness icon Monica Brandt, sexy boss Heather Ann Havenwood, social media guru Batya Maman, and sexual fulfillment expert Stacy Batat at the Arnold Summit. Queen Bee launching this March 3rd at 4 p.m. and March 4th at 10 a.m. Free admission with your Arnold Sports Festival Expo Pass.